I'm Kim Kral. I'm reporting to you not live from my closet. Hey, everybody. How we doing? I have had a fun few days, weeks. I don't know. I feel like time isn't real. And it finally happened. I pulled a muscle when I got into my closet. I cannot bend like this as easily as I used to when I was a child. Or by child, I mean like 20. Now I have to like take it slow. And also I have like zero endurance or zero I guess that's endurance, stretchability. I don't know. So bear with me. It's going to maybe be a bit of a breathy day. I'm about to go on some more meds. Hopefully those will help. I update you on COVID journey. I don't know. It's really interesting because I'm having a hard time talking about, like, I want to share my experiences on, okay, I'm going to try and say a nice boundary. And by the way, I'm not talking to anybody specifically here. I have close friends that listen to this, or even like acquaintances that listen to this, and then they reach out and they were like, "That specific moment, were you talking?" And I'm like, I don't know. A lot goes on in this closet. I just confess everything, and if you know me well, you know that if I have a problem, I just come to you. Like, I don't have an issue with confrontation. I had a mean dad, dude. So I'm not afraid of confrontation. So like when I say this, I just mean as a blanket statement. I want to share my COVID experience with everybody. And I think it's important to do it. I don't have a massive platform, but I have a big enough one that I think that enough people will listen and maybe be able to relate and feel not alone. But as a result of me sharing this stuff, I get a lot of unsolicited advice. And like, I know, like, half and half. Like, I had a friend be like, well, it's just because people care. No, that's not always what it is. Half of it, yes. Half of the time, it's because people care. But the other half is people needing to hear themselves speak or feel like they're helping. Like, I had a girl reach out multiple times who's like I think I told you guys about this QAnon broad who was asking if she could buy me a meal. I'm like, nah, I'm good. We barely know each other. And I don't think that that's coming from a place of like, oh, I'd like to buy you a meal because you have COVID, which it's coming from a place like, I helped a girl, whatever. I don't know. I know that sounds, and I feel like I've been really grumpy lately and I'm taking it out on a lot of people. So I'm really hoping everybody in my life understands. I got a lot going on. I cannot breathe almost all the time, and it's starting to fucking wear on me. So I know half of the time it is people that genuinely care, but then the other half of the time it's people that are just like wanting to hear themselves speak, right? Like, because when I'll explain, like, okay, so a guy last week had sent me something like right when I got COVID, this long fucking paragraph. I couldn't pick this guy out of a lineup, truthfully. Like, I know his name, and I know if I saw him, I would be like, oh, I know that guy, but I don't know the guy's name and the guy together. Does that make sense? Meaning, like, I just don't know this guy well enough for him to do this. And so for him to respond the way he did. So he sent me this massive paragraph, like right when I got COVID, like this massive, and I'm a little overwhelmed with messages right now, and a little overwhelmed with, like, I'm just overwhelmed. And I think if I was operating on, okay, I call it this, call it, if I was operating on full Slayer strength, I would be probably less overwhelmed. Yes, I call myself a Slayer sometimes, and you should call yourself one too, because you see the last episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Never mind, I'm not going to get into it. I know, like, the Buffy the Vampire Slayer stuff and how I think Paul McCartney died in 1966 will clear a room. Like, clear, unless people agree with you. Unless people agree with you. I just had to move and I thought everything was going to come crashing down. Unless people agree that Paul McCartney died in 1966 or they're as big of a Buffy fan as you, you'll clear a fucking room. But if I was operating on full Slayer strength, meaning full Kim strength, I probably wouldn't be as overwhelmed right now, but I'm just really overwhelmed. And like, the littlest thing is overwhelming me. Like, just, I mean, people are sending me suggestions on what I should do here. And maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that. And why don't you do this? And how are you that? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I just need to be fucking left alone. That's all. I just need to breathe. That's all I need to do. Probably the singing and yelling by myself all the time probably doesn't help. I don't really yell by myself, but I talk a lot. And I sing a lot of songs to my cat. I have a lot of Henry themed songs. but I like doing that. So I'm hoping that eventually I'll be able to get back to. So this guy sent me this long suggestion. Once again, if I saw the guy, I would know I knew him, but I wouldn't know how you know what I like. So we're not close. So he sends me this long paragraph on what I should do to solve my COVID, right? And as I said, I just got back to a lot of my DMs. If I missed you, know that I'm doing the best I can. I'm doing the fucking best I can. I said that twice so I could remind myself. And so when I responded to him, like 3 months later, again, we're not like buddies. Like, it's not like I just ignored a friend for 3 months. Like, I barely know this dude. So I wrote back and said, hey man, thanks so much for the advice. I really appreciate it. I'm hanging in there. Thanks for reaching out. Cheers. Right. Like a very cool, thanks dude. But not, how are you? Like, I think I said, I hope you're well, which to me is like, there doesn't. And then he wrote back, well, if you would have listened to all of this advice 3 months ago, you wouldn't be as sick as you are now. And I almost threw my phone. And I was just like, actually, dude, I would still be where I'm at. I actually did a lot of the stuff that you sent me. But I it's just like, fuck off. So I want to share my experience, how I'm feeling, because I have been reached out by people that are dealing with what I'm dealing with. Like, that's the thing. Like, let me tell you, I don't want to hear how you think I should handle what I'm going through unless I ask you. You've been through it in your life before. Like, you've gone through this long hauler COVID and you can't breathe every day, or you are a medical professional. That is it. Not some random dude I did a bartending gig with 3 years ago. Yeah, I heard from someone that yesterday. I didn't even read that. That was another big paragraph. And I was like, dude, we don't know it. And I know, I'm not trying to sound like an asshole, but it's just, I'm very overwhelmed and I'm trying to just hold it together. And I know that my side is I don't have to respond to these messages, and I'm not. So I am keeping myself I am taking care of myself in the overwhelm department by not responding. But I want to keep sharing my experience because I have gotten a lot of messages from people that are like, thank you. I thought I was alone. It's been 100 days and I am not better and I'm fucked up. And that's where I am. And so I want to share my experience, but it's just, and that's I guess that's the path I'm choosing and the path I'm going to go down. So I think I will have to just probably deal with this forever, right? Not forever, but I mean, just I have to figure out how to have really strong boundaries. And I already have really strong boundaries. I have friends that are worried that I won't tell them when I can't talk to them. And I'm like, no, I have no problem with confrontation. I have really strong boundaries. I'm 15 years, 15 years into 12 steps where I learned boundaries. I grew up with 0 boundaries. I wasn't even allowed to go to the bathroom without my father watching me. That's a weird thing to just throw in there. Sorry. I mean, to be fair, he wasn't it was a fetish where he just watched me, but we weren't allowed to shut the bathroom doors when we peed or pooped. Years later, I made a big deal out of that, which is a weird, but the point is I didn't have boundaries growing up. So I've worked really hard with having boundaries. Where am I going with this? So I will tell people if I'm not interested, if I'm I'm not asking for your opinion. But it's just the strangers, man. And it's just so it's hard because it's also people that I want to hear from. I'm missing their messages because I don't know. These are not real problems. These are not real problems. I'm just overwhelmed. And my anxiety, which thank God, I was doing some research, and long haul COVID, one of the big things, the psychological aspect of it is massive, depression, anxiety. My depression isn't back, which is great, but I also work very, very hard daily to make sure it doesn't come back. I know that we've talked about this before, that I wanted to, I really need to, I'm sorry. I had a friend years ago that was just you gotta warn us before you're oh, and then that guy died. What? Whoa. But I wanted to, I wanted to kill myself for a long time. So I had, bad depression, debilitating depression, where I was really trying to figure out how to end it, and, end it with making sure my cats were taken care of. I think cat at the time, but so my depression is fine because I truly do daily stuff that I cannot skip. I mean, I don't know if I can skip. I won't risk it. I'm not going to risk skipping it to see if my depression will come back, right? But my anxiety, I haven't dealt with anxiety levels of this level of anxiety. I haven't dealt with this level of anxiety. Yeah, that's the right way to say it. In a lot since my dad died. Like the anxiety is indescribable. And I'm wondering, this is me asking if you have dealt with long hauler COVID. How is I would like to hear from you. I know I'm being kind of, I don't even know if I'm being a bitch. Honestly, I don't even know if I'm being a bitch. I know that that's just my boundary. Like, unless you're a medical professional, you've been through this, or I ask you. Those are the only times I want to know. But yeah, my anxiety level. And the problem is the doctor told me yesterday he couldn't prescribe me anything for my anxiety because he was like, I don't like doing that because breathing stuff, we need to have you alert, I guess. He's like, I don't want to. And then I guess all the stuff that my anxiety is going to be. Oh my God. I'm like trying to figure out this mic. Okay, there it is. I like hearing myself loudly, but I don't know if it blows you guys out. I'm just deaf. That's all. But yeah, he was just like, the meds that I'm prescribing you won't be good for anxiety meds. So he was just basically like, I can refer to you a counselor, and I already have that stuff. And I already have all the tools for anxiety. And truthfully, Googling and finding out that that was the reason why I've been having, like, I thought I was literally going crazy. Like, I've been putting so much weird pressure on this dude that I'm getting to know, and like freakouts, like private freakouts about it. And I like can't figure out why, or like the irrational fear that I had to go back to bartending last week. Like my anxiety is so, like, I'm making a problem. It's just part of it. And the fact, knowing now, the knowledge, knowing that this is part of it, that this is just a symptom of what I'm going through, I'm able to talk myself down from it, if that makes sense. Like, I'm able to just be like, yo, this is the COVID. And I have a couple, like I have a very good friend of mine who was like, dude, I have debilitating anxiety and I don't want to take pills. So I have a lot of stuff that I could help you with. And I was like, absolutely. And she gave me like 10 things, steps to take when I'm having anxiety. And it's been a couple of days and I don't know. Time isn't real. Yeah. So the anxiety is real. The breathing's really bad. I don't think I was using the inhaler correctly. The doctor was like, yeah, you probably weren't. So we're getting an apparatus today that's going to help like force my body to use it. Like, I guess it takes good eye-hand coordination. You poor asthmatics, dude. Jesus, I can't even imagine. And this is giving me like just like a tiny, can I say tiny again, look into the lives of people that have daily, like, have chronic illness. I can't imagine like, I've been dealing this for 3 months, and I am at my wit's end. Like, I am yelling. I am like, the littlest thing is making me want to throw my whole head through a window. My whole head, not just part of it. I'm crying a lot. Like, and I am just feeling the feelings. Like, my friend yesterday told me, like, reminded me that it's okay to just feel shitty. And I just feel shitty. I have a lot going. I have a lot of stuff I want to do. I have a lot of projects I'm working on, and my body's just not allowing me to do it. And my walks are over. The doctor said, don't go walking. He was like, the exercise is good, but the Los Angeles air quality will be really, really bad for the state of your lungs. How awesome is that? So I can't walk anymore. But he said yoga. I don't know. I feel like I'm just like bitching and like yelling at everybody in this. I'm sorry if you're taking it personally. Please don't. I'm just, fuck, man. I'm at I'm at my end of my rope, at the end of the rope. I don't know sayings. I don't know if you've gathered that throughout this journey of ours. I don't understand sayings. I miss sayings. It's the end of the rope. I'm at the end of my rope. I don't know. Something about a cow and a camel on a back. That's probably not real, but, oh man. Yeah. So that's the COVID update. There's not really much to update. I'm just feeling frustrated and can't breathe. But the doctor said that after 3 days of these meds, we're back on steroids, antibiotics, and then like 3 other things that are supposed to hopefully clear my airways, that he prescribes to asthmatics. Asthmatics. I just really like that word. I figured out yesterday that I can say the word asthmatic. Not that I like was scared to try and say it for years, but it's never been in my vocabulary. So he said after 3 days, if it doesn't let up, I need to go to urgent care. And if urgent care won't see me, I need to go to the ER again. And I mean, I appreciated this guy because I explained to him, I was like, dude, I've been to the ER twice. They really dismissed me because I'm not dying. And he goes, yeah. And it was really validating because he was just like, he said brethren, which is really funny. He was like, I'm really disappointed in my fellow brethren. It's like a lot of doctors have been really, dropping the ball on this whole thing. Because he's like, someone like you who you don't look sick. He goes, I wouldn't think you were sick if you came into my ER, but I believe you. But someone like you gets dismissed, and during this time, and I'm not dying, so I just get sent home, and I've been like kind of suffering alone, and just like, I mean, not alone. I don't mean like people aren't supporting me, but you know what I mean. Like doctors haven't been able to really help me because I'm not dying, and I'm grateful for that. Fuck, I know I'm trying to feel my feelings, but then also remain in gratitude. Just a lot of noise up in this head right now. Just a lot of fucking noise, man. The committee is just going wild. But he was like, because I was like, if I go to urgent care, they won't see me since I don't have a negative test, even though I'm not contagious according to the CDC. And he was just like, tell them that you had a tele appointment. And they said go to the urgent care. Jesus, just, I don't know. We'll see. I guess just send good thoughts. I'll be fine. It'll be all right. Or I won't be. And, these are my last words. Just kidding. That's super dark. But the cool thing is, if this isn't the last time, at least I got to start a podcast. And that's kind of fun, right? Well, that got really, I don't know, guys. I'm fucking losing it. I'm losing it. I wanted to talk about some stuff today so I had a dream last night about a guy. So bear with me. I had a dream last night about a guy that we had one of those almost relationships, right? Like we liked each other for years. We connect. He still is one of my favorite humans. One of my favorite humans. And we've made out some. We've cuddled all night. We've done like the almosts, And I think he moved to Texas, which is so weird. He got a girlfriend a couple of years ago, and I was dating this guy that knew him. And he was like, oh my God, did you guys date? And I was like, yeah. He was like, I told Texas, we'll call him Texas. I don't want to use his name. Texas, that this new dude that I was seeing was worried that, was kind of jealous because he thought we dated. And I was like, oh, we didn't date. He goes, you said we didn't date. I'm like, well, we didn't. And he goes, yeah, but did you tell him it was complicated? And it's just so funny. I've had so many of those almost relationships in my life, and almost it's complicated. And I don't want that anymore. Like I'm starting something new. It's a little weird right now, but it's not him at all. It's my stuff. He doesn't listen to this. I don't think. I think he told me he was afraid to listen to it because he didn't want to hear about himself. I think that's what he said, but I'm not really sure. If you did, hi. But like it's not complicated. It's very slow. And it's very, and it's coming at a hard time in my personal life, but just with the anxiety and stuff. But it's not complicated. It's not like, are we, aren't we? Like I know how he feels. I know how I feel. And I've just had so many of those. And I had a dream last night that Texas and I were traveling the world with my dad. And the weirdest part about that dream is normally my dad is like super over the top creepy in all of my dreams. And I woke up and I was like, weirdest part about that whole dream is my dad was a dad in that dream. You can use your imagination on what I mean. Creepy, a lot of night terrors. I don't need to tell you anymore. Truthfully, I don't want to share it right now. Maybe another time. But like I woke up and I was like, the weirdest part about that dream was that my dad was a dad. Like acted like a dad. It was so odd. I never had one of those. I never had a dad or a mom. Like I don't like parents fascinate me. Like other people's parents fascinate me because I don't know. I never, I don't know. But it made me, God, I feel like I'm all over the map. Can we just take a breather? I wanted to talk about almosts, but really, I started thinking about what my poop scoop was going to be today, what the poop scoop booty was going to be today. Guys, I'm all over the fucking map. Can we just breathe right now? These are the moments that I'm like, should I stop the podcast and start over? But no, I promised you I never would not be real in this. And, I'm just the brain fog is really bad too. Like the brain fog, the anxiety, my smell is bad, but then sometimes it's like, whoa, that's a smell. But like I haven't smelled in so long. I don't know. It's just, I'm struggling. Um, and apparently though, whatever this guy's going to give me, apparently it's going to get rid of this whole sinus thing too, which is super exciting. But I was thinking about Poopscoop, and I have some friends that are going to give me some Poopscoop stories. So soon there will be more Poopscoop stories that will have nothing to do with me shitting my pants and other people shitting their pants. And I sound like I am way too excited about that, because I am. Shitting your pants stories are amazing. Everybody's pooped their pants. And if you haven't pooped your pants, I promise you, your time is coming. I think I say that every week, but there is something in my life. There are very few things in my life that I know wholeheartedly, that I don't know, that I know wholeheartedly more than I know. If you haven't pooped your pants, you will, my friend. You will. And I don't mean like when you're 80 and you got your Depends and you've lost all your wits about you. I just mean one day on some idle Tuesday afternoon, you'll be the drive-through window at the In-N-Out Burger and something will hit you and you'll just explode in your pants. And then you'll have a person that you can message, me, Kim Kral, to tell them all about it. And I'll be like, hey, man, that's really funny. I'm going to read that sans your name on my podcast and let you know that you're not alone. God, I love it when people tell me they poop their pants. I love it. So the Poop Scoop today, I was thinking, of all the times in my life, like, okay, so like the pooping with new boyfriends, right? I don't know if guys go through this. Maybe they do. I don't know. Every boyfriend I've ever had is just like, I mean, like, I guess naked pooper. I remember I dated this guy, like the last guy, maybe the last guy, I don't know, the last guy I dated, where it was kind of serious. He would go to the bathroom. He hated this. We'd be in his apartment and he would be like, he'd get up and I'd be like, where are you going? And he's like, oh, I'm going to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he grabs his phone and I go, you need your phone for that? And then he would just be like, just let me go to the bathroom. And I'm like, oh, you're pooping. And he's like, why are you like this? And I'm like, why can't you just say you're going to go poop? You know that I love that. And, but he was so good looking. He was probably the best looking guy I've ever dated. But definitely not good looking to me now because of everything that went on in that relationship and everything that happened afterwards, how he is now, who he is, like, you know what I mean? But like, probably the most aesthetically pleasing person I've ever dated. But he was so weird about that. And I remember one time I was in the bathroom at my place and he was outside the bathroom and like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to describe this as well as, I don't know if I'm going to be able to describe this as well as funny as I think it is. But once again, he was very, very normal, very hot, and just not weird. He just wasn't weird. And everything I did, and like he always just like anytime I did something that was like not hot, he was so embarrassed, right? Like I could never date a person like that ever. Like I mean, like he didn't expect me not to do unhot things, but like he was always just like, oh God, what are you doing now? Right. And not that I was just like blowing out farts or anything like that, but just like I don't know. I mean, if you're listening, which he has told me that I don't know what, hey man, hope you're well. This is no hard feelings or no anything, but I was in the bathroom one time and we were, I can't remember if it was like one of like the time we maybe were going to have sex, right? Like the first time, maybe. I can't remember, but I'm in the bathroom. I'm in there a long time. And then my period starts and you can hear me. I'm trying. Okay, let me just go on a ride with me. I'm trying to paint a picture from his perspective. From his perspective, the weird girl he's dating is in the bathroom and she's been in there a long time. And all he hears is, oh man, no, damn it. All right. And then I come out and I'm like, hello. And he's like, everything okay in there? And I don't even know if that's that funny. I just think about it sometimes because I talk to myself a lot in the bathroom. And that boyfriend, Rob, I told you about years ago, the race car driver accountant, he was like, one of the weirdest things about you is that you laugh on the toilet. And I can always hear you in the bathroom laughing to yourself. And I guess I had never thought about that until this is the poop scoop. I promise I'll get to pooping. I never thought about it. I guess we were kind of good talking. I never thought about it until he said, "You laugh on the toilet." I laugh on the toilet. I mean, it's not always bathroom related. I implore you to figure out how to enjoy your own company. I just enjoy my own company. Like, I think that's why this whole lockdown hasn't been that big of a deal to me. I really enjoy spending time with myself. I'm hilarious. I'm weird. I had a bizarre childhood where I spent a lot of it in a box in a closet, playing by myself. That sounds so abusive, but I promise you that box in that closet was one of my favorite places to be. So like, I just genuinely enjoy my own company. And so if you don't have that, I implore you to like figure out how to do it. Spend some time alone, enjoy your own company. So yeah, I guess I laugh a lot on the toilet by myself, but I was thinking about all the first times I'd pooped at a boyfriend's house. Now I told you that I pooped at Rob's house that time that we got in a fight in the morning. He was like, "I love you, blah, 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 blah." And I was like, "I gotta get out of here." And then I almost shit my pants. So then I had to go back and poop in his toilet. Yeah. Or like, but I had this boyfriend years and years ago. God, I was like 20 years old. And he was like probably my first boyfriend that like made me, we never had sex. I was 20. I was a virgin. God, yeah. And he wouldn't take my virginity. He was like 23, and it was so funny because he always acted like he was so much older than me. And remember when you were 23 and everybody was 20, was so much younger than you. And like, so that's how he always treated me. It was just like, "You can't even go to the bar, Kim." And I'm like, "You don't go to the bar. So who cares?" Like, it's not like you're jonesing to go to the bar. Like, what do you, but he was like the first guy I had feelings for that and he was my boss. I wonder if he listens to this now. If he does, like, I have such a special place in my heart for this man. He's married. I think he lives in like Taiwanese, Taiwan, yeah, or Thailand. I don't know. He lives somewhere exotic with a wife and 2 kids, but he was like the first guy I had had big feelings for, that we were like intimate, that he like, we didn't have sex, but we did everything else. And he was the first one that gave me like an orgasm. Man, I liked him so much. So much. And he knew me so well. And I remember and he knew my poop stuff. He knew how and this was before I was like super open about pooping. I was just really scared to poop anywhere. Remember the college dorm room where I used to poop at Target? Like, I was still in that sort of phase, right? And so we're sitting in his apartment one night, and this was like, the poop scoop is going to be like sweet, uncomfortable stories that's going to lead into some other stuff. But I think you'll be with me. I probably need to stop being like, "You guys still interested? You guys still listening to the podcast? Am I gotten too weird for you?" So like one night we were sitting at his house, and our like colleague was there. And let me also preface that like no one knew my boss and I were dating. Like I don't even know. It was like a corporate-y job, so I don't think we were allowed to. But we were selling knives. Oh yeah, I sold Cutco, so he was like my Cutco boss. So it's not like it was like like Bank of America or some shit. It was just like Cutco. But and everybody, like the whole office knew we were dating, but no one, we couldn't tell anybody. So we just like denied it to our graves. Right. So like, it was just like, we're just best friends that spend all of our time together, have a lot of, inside jokes, and fight at every staff meeting. Like I would tell him after the staff meetings, I'd be like, "Dude, you think you're covering up that we're seeing each other, but really it's making it more obvious because you're like weirdly mean to me." Like, he was trying to like cover up that we were dating by like overcompensating by like picking on me through the meeting, which would then turn piss me off. So then we'd fight in the meetings. I'm like, it's like a big smoking gun. That's right. A big smoking gun that we're dating secretly. Like, if you just treated me like you treat everybody else, no one would know. They would just think we were friends. But because of this, and how we ended up finally getting caught, we had a friend. So there was 3 of us, and we were like 3 best friends, but we never told the other guy. But he always was like, "Yeah, I know you guys are dating." And we're like, "No, we're literally just friends." And how it finally like came out is, I was at work one day. I came in, and the other guy was like, "It doesn't matter. Their names are so generic, and only they'll know who I'm talking about if they're listening." So, and I'm not going to say anything shitty. I was Josh and Tyler. So Josh was the one I was dating, and Tyler was like my dear friend, right? Which was our 3 friends. And Tyler was like, "It's so stupid that you won't just tell me. Like, I would support the 2 of you dating." And so one day I go into work and he goes, honestly, it's just really insulting that you won't tell me that you guys are dating. Like, it's just like, I know it to be true. And I was like, we're not. And he goes, so then why every day that I drive by Josh's house on my way to work, your car is outside his house 5 out of the 7 days? And I was like, oh. And he goes, I'm not going to tell anyone. And I was like, okay, well, yeah. And I like confessed the whole relationship. And then I went and told Josh, and Josh was like, you fucking idiot. He doesn't live anywhere near my house. And I was like, that's right. He lives in the opposite direction, whatever. And it didn't matter. When people found out, it didn't fucking matter. But so at this point, we're back at the poop. So at this point, we have a coworker over, and no one knows that we're dating, or they know, but they don't know. I honestly, I don't care. But his name is Cody, and he's over there, and Cody is hanging out and finally goes, dude, I got to get going. I got to take a shit, and I'd rather do that at home. And I was like, man, that lucky bastard. I've had to poop for like 3 days, and I've just been at Josh's for 3 days and I can't poop. So Cody leaves, and Josh knows me really, really well, right? It's like one of the sweetest things. Like, this is like probably the moment I knew that I like really liked this guy. Call it love. I don't know. It was so long ago, and I was so fucked up that I don't think I was capable of really being in love. And it was, it was one of those almost relationships, it was the complicated almost. But I knew I really liked him. And at this moment was the moment I was like, oh man, I really like him. So Cody leaves, and I'm quiet for a while. And Josh was like, what's up? Why are you so quiet? And I was like, well, I need to go to the bathroom, and I think I need to go home to do it. And he was like, do you have to poop? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, all right, let's go. And he takes me up to his bathroom, and he, this isn't going where you think it's going. Maybe your brain won't go to there. Like, he's not going to watch me poop. But he goes up to his bathroom, and he lights a candle, and he turns on the music really low and turns on the fan. Okay, sorry, I had to take a breath. And he goes, I'm going to take a walk. How long do you need? Do you want like 20 minutes? And here's some matches when you're done. The candle's lit. It's going to be fine. And he left, and I pooped, and it was just so sweet that he did that. And yeah, years later, he when he was flying back to Taiwan, is that stupid that I don't remember which? I knew it was I know it started with a T. Flew back. He had a layover in LAX, and we fooled around in the bathroom, and then we like sat in the hallway of the airport, and we held hands, and he was just like, I should have taken your virginity. And I was like, yeah, you should have, because I gave it to some douchey comedian that I wish I would have given it to you because of how we felt about each other. And we just like held each other's hands in silence. And there's a reason I'm telling this story too, not just the Poopscoop story. I recently was cleaning out my apartment, right? I was like, in January was the month that I decided to like really like clean my apartment. Like I like donated like 7 bags worth of stuff. By the way, a lot of people have really strong opinions. And when you put your life out there, it gives people carte blanche. Is that the word? Carte blanche to give their unsolicited opinions back. Which again, I have boundaries, and I know that I don't have to respond or listen, but it has been very eye-opening in this process of how many people are like, you need to do this. You should be doing this. Why aren't you doing this? And it's like, a lot of people have really strong opinions on where you donate your clothes. A lot of people, I mean, I know Goodwill is trash. Salvation Army is pretty homophobic. Like, I know like the most like, but like people are like really like, I don't know. It's funny. Not haha funny, but haha. But so I really cleaned out my apartment, like got rid of a lot of stuff and moved things around, organized, threw away a lot shit that I've been carrying around for years. I went to England when I was like 15, 14, and I grabbed every single brochure and magazine that they had for free in the entire country of England. Oh my God, that's so embarrassing. I think it's a country. Jesus Christ, whatever. Don't know much about history. And I have been trucking along this big box of free magazines from England since I was 14 years old. I threw them all away. Finally threw them all away. I tried to look at them. I did not care to. I was like, so if you don't care now, you do the math. What's math? 14, whatever. Oh, breathing. If you don't want to look at them now, 25-ish years later, you're not going to want to look at them again in 10 years. Throw them away. So I did a bunch of cleaning, and I have an old boyfriend box. Just like, and I wonder, like, people in like committed long-term relationships, do you keep your old love letters? Uh, like, is there like, I guess I haven't met the guy yet that would make me want to throw away these old pieces of me, and not like old pieces of me, like I still like pine for Josh, right? Um, but and like, I'm not saying that I haven't met anybody special that like makes me look back on any of these guys, but the nostalgia or just like the love, I don't know. If you ever listen to the Sunscreen song by Baz Luhrmann, you should if you haven't. It is gold, still holds up. One of the things was keep your old love letters. Keep your old love letters. Throw away your old bank statements. I used to be able to recite that pretty all the way through. I used to pretend that the year was 2025 and that I was asked to give the commencement speech at my high school after I became super famous, and that I wrote the Sunscreen song. Why am I confessing this? I still hope one day I get to do a speech somewhere at my high school, but I will write my own speech, not do the Sunscreen song. But that's what I used to do. I was younger. I was like, I was 17, 16, sometimes 21. But like, do you keep your old love letters? And I wonder, like, I'm trying, like I was reading through them, and I had a lot of letters from Josh. Josh and I ended when he moved to Arkansas and I moved to Los Angeles. And I remember he moved to Arkansas first, and we sat out in his moving van outside of this broad Miranda's house. God, I can't even believe I remember that girl's name. Sitting outside of her house, sitting in the moving truck, and we just held hands and we sat in silence, cried a little bit, and we just said our goodbyes. And he moved to Arkansas. I moved to Los Angeles, and we kept in touch some. We've lost touch now. We kept in touch the first year or so. We're still friends on Facebook and Instagram and all that shit. Like, we still follow each other. He was, he really special place in my heart. But I found his old love letters that he used to send me, and not love like I love you, but just like letters of just like, you meant so much to me. Like, like one of the letters was just like, I don't think I ever told you just how much you meant to me when we were together, and how proud I am of you. And like that, like, and I thought about it, and I was like, okay, say you get married to a guy and you find that he has all these old love letters from like women from his past. I feel like I'd be bothered, but then I'd look at it like, well, I don't still have feelings for Josh, but I like the box of that stuff. Like, there was another guy named Ben. God, Ben Manair. I shouldn't say his last name. I don't think he has any social media. Or he's blocked me on all of it. Who knows? Anyone's guess, really. That guy used to write me poems, lots of poems, a lot of poems. And I have all of those. And it just feels weird to throw them away. It's a piece of my history. They don't take up much space. I probably read them once every like 10 years. I want to say this is the first time I've read it in 10 years. But they were lovely. Like, they were just, and I wonder, do you keep your old love letters? I do. Chris Thornton. God, I don't. This is such a long story, but this guy was the first. Maybe I've already told you about him. I'm not sure. This is the first guy that I had sex with that gave me an orgasm. Period. But then also the first guy that I loved that I had sex with. God, I was so in love with him. So in love with him. We met. It was a long distance thing. It was doomed from the beginning, I feel like. But man, he has social media, but he's never on it. I don't know where he's at. We talked a few years ago. It was super weird. It just like, but he, I was 25 years old. We met, I was 24 years old. 24, 23, sorry, doesn't matter, but young, right? And I was working at this bank, and he worked at the same bank, but in Delaware, and then later New York. And we met. He was like the top salesman or something at his bank. So it was so funny because he used to get so mad. He's like, my girlfriend should be also the top salesman. He took it very seriously. He used to call me and try and do like I'm a good salesman if I care, but if I don't care, then I'm not going to be a good salesman, right? And like this job actually led me to go get the job at Big Wings, which led me to go pursue my career. And but so like he used to call me and have like these like coaching sessions. He would make me role play my salesmanship. Oh man. And he'd be like, I'm just so like I just feel like you should be doing better. Like, why are you like never in the top 10 in your team? I was so bad. Like I just like did the bare minimum. I was like, they kept trying to promote me and I was like, nah, I'm all right. Um just they liked me, but oh god. So we met. He was the top salesman in his, my leg is gonna fall asleep soon. He was the top salesman in his bank in New York. And so they flew him out. This is how we met. They flew him out for this yacht party they had on for the like Christmas yearly party or whatever. And I remember I was walking on the boat that night and I just ended something with my very first love, right? He'd ghosted me and like that story is far from over at that point. But at that point I thought it was over. And I looked at the boat and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna turn off my phone tonight. He didn't ghost me, but I thought he had ghosted me. And I was like, I'm gonna turn off my phone tonight and I'm not gonna pay attention to Adam. That's the guy's name, First Love, right? We already talked about him in another thing, but I'm gonna like not pay attention to that. I'm gonna try and just have a good time and forget about Adam for a night. And I turned off my phone and I walked on the boat and there's this guy who's covered in tattoos. That's when I found out I love tattoos. He covered in tattoos, wearing aviator glasses, and he and I danced. This is back before I was nervous about dancing, where I had no inhibitions, and also drank quite a bit, so that probably helped. We danced the fucking night away. Like this guy and I danced, and then we went, and then we were on top of the boat, right, looking out on the marina, and we're sitting there, and I spend the night convincing him that I am the coolest girl in the world, right? Like I'm like, my favorite movie is Pulp Fiction. That's not my favorite movie. It's Fight Club, which is also a cool girl thing, I guess. I don't know. Fight Club just has everything. But like I know the Boondock Saints, which he thought was really cool. Like I know football. Like I was like I'm the coolest girl in the world. I still think that. And again, I implore you the same thing. Like if you don't think you're the coolest in the world, why would anybody else think you're the coolest in the world? If you don't believe in you, why would anybody else believe in you? If you don't enjoy your company, why would anybody else enjoy your company? You know what I mean? Like that's just like I don't know. That's just the way I look at it. And like and even at the time was like, I'm the coolest fucking girl in the world. And we spent the rest of the night together, and then the party ended and he was gone. That was that, right? I was dating another boss at the time. My God, I have dad issues, guys. So I've dated many bosses, privately, secretly, openly. Like, yeah, most of my bosses I've dated. Not anymore. That stuff's behind me. But that was another one, the complicated almost, right? And so the boss and I were on and off, and he took me home and we had to talk about our feelings all night. I don't fully remember all about that, honestly. Like that guy and I, that was a story for another day. Maybe I'll tell you about that story another day. We're on Chris right now. And so I go into work Monday morning, and so there's a cafe. I worked at this place called ING Direct, and there's a cafe. It's now taken over by Capital One. They have a cafe where you can open up your banking or whatever, right? And so there's banking employees that also are cafe employees, and Chris was that in New York. And so the guy, and we have this big email, like there's like a full company email, right? Like my email was Kim Kral at ingdirect.com or something like that. And so I go into work, and the guy, Adam, who not First Love, but well, that's very confusing. By the way, First Love did call me while I was on that boat that night, and I didn't call him back for years. Years went by. I mean, that's a story for another time, but Chris got me to like move forward from this, I thought that I would never be able to move on from Adam Black. And Chris changed that. But the barista, we'll just call him the barista. So I go in, that way we don't confuse the story. So I go in Monday morning, and the barista is like, he's like, wow. He's like, fun time on Friday or whatever. And I'm like, yeah. He goes, so have you talked to Chris Thornton again? I was like, who the fuck's Chris Thornton? He goes, the guy that you spent all of Friday night hanging out with and talking to. By the way, Chris and I hadn't even kissed at this point, right? We didn't kiss. There was no making out. It was just like two people Like we just connected. It was wild. Still one of my favorite love stories of my life. One of my favorite love stories of my life. One of the most heartbreaking ones. God, my heart was broken. And so I was like, oh yeah, that guy? I'm like, no, why would I talk to that guy? He lives in New York. And he goes, I don't know. I think you should email him. And I was like, I don't know, dude. He lives in New York. He goes, look, I'm going to tell you, I don't think I've ever seen any two people connect that instantly in my entire life. I think you should email him. And then I was like, his name's Chris Thornton. He goes, that's his name. So he writes down his name and he goes, email him. So I remember like thinking about it for a few days, thinking that this is very dumb. What am I even going to say to this guy? So I finally email him. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to say hi. Who gives a shit, right? And we're going to go over the hour. Thank you, Dan and Matt, for telling me it's cool to go over the hour. I don't know why I put my own like time limit on this. If you want to listen, you can. If you don't, we all have, boundaries. So I email him and it's like this weird clunky email. It's like, hey, what's up? I don't want to, this may be weird. I don't know if you remember me. I'm the girl from, Friday night. Like, I don't know why I didn't think he'd remember me. We literally spent the entire night together and I didn't remember him just because not that I didn't remember him. It's just like, you're not thinking someone's like, who's Chris Thornton? Whatever. Right. But I write this really clunky email that is just like, don't respond if you don't want. I'm crazy. I shouldn't even, blah, 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 blah. And he writes back and goes, well, if it isn't the coolest girl in the world. And then we started emailing and the emails turned to like phone calls. Like it was like, like a couple times a week phone calls. And this was right when text messaging was starting. And I hated text messaging. And he'd text me and we'd spend hours on the phone. Right. And then it turned from like a couple of days a week to every day we were on the phone. And it was just like, and we would just talk for hours. There was and it wasn't like sexy. We didn't get sexy for a long time. I knew I really liked him. And I know now how much he really liked me. And it was just this instant connection that I had never had before other than Adam, but I mean, that honestly, one of the first instant connections I've ever had in my life to date. We talked for hours. I remember one night, he was like, man, I really wish I could take you on a date. That's what I just really want to take you on a date. I'm realizing that I might have talked about this in like episode 3, but who gives a fuck, right? He's like, I really wish I could take you on a date. And I was like, yeah, I would love that. And he goes, you know what? Why don't we rent the same movie one night? And like, you get your drink of choice, I'll get my drink of choice, and we'll watch the movie together. And that'll be like the closest thing we can have to a date. And I was like, oh, that sounds great. And so he decides to pick the movie Sneakers, I think. I don't know. He picks the movie. It's the Robert Redford movie where a bunch of boys get molested at some school. Like in hindsight, I don't know why the fuck he picked this movie, but we enjoyed it. I mean, it was a good movie. Like, but it was like a very, like, my friend Mara at the time was like, yeah, I understand it's very sweet, but why the fuck did he pick the pedophile movie? I don't know, man. We picked that, and so we set the time and date. I get the movie, I get a 6-pack of beer, and I'm living with my buddy Ollie at the time. And I've told you a little bit about Ollie. I told you a lot about Ollie, and so I'm living with Ollie at the time. And so I have the beer in the fridge, and I have the movie on the counter, and it's like Blockbuster movie, right? That's how long ago it was, and Ali comes home and it's like 7:30 and Chris and I are supposed to get on the phone at 8. So 7:30, Ali and I are talking a bunch and, catching up, and I'm telling him about this guy in my life and he knows all about Chris and all, whatever. Right. And he goes, oh, sleepers. I think it's sleepers or sneakers. I don't remember. But he's like, oh, I would love to see this movie. And I was like, oh. And I was so embarrassed to be like, Chris and I are going to watch it together because it's sweet now, right? It's just so sweet. But I was so embarrassed. And so I told him, I was like, well, I'm supposed to watch it with the guy who lives in New York. And he goes, oh, that's really nice. He thought it was he's like, that's actually really sweet. That's a good idea. And I was like, great. And then I remember I walked to the refrigerator and grabbed a 6-pack of beer. And he goes, you need to be drunk for this? And once again, Chris and I partied a lot. So it was like, yeah, we're having a date. Of course, we're going to be drunk. And, so we watched the movie at the same time and we both fall asleep and then we were off and running. We bought the same book a couple of times, maybe just once. I can't remember, but we would maybe twice. We read the book. We read a book together. Like it was just like one of the most intimate relationships that I had ever had with someone that I had never even kissed. And then it came to a point where it was like, one of us has to fly to the other one. We're going to need to, we're going to need, and I was like, I've never been to New York. I would love to go to New York. So he was like, fly to New York. I remember I was so scared. Fuck, I was so scared. There was some weird mom stuff too that day. My mom's husband called. We don't. It doesn't even matter. But I was so scared. So I flew to O'Hara. I had a layover in Chicago, and then from Chicago to New York, I was sitting next to this woman of all fucking people. I'm telling her all about this guy, and she's like, "That's how I met my husband. Like he was on a." Like he worked in the same company and we fell in love over the phone and then we finally met and now, I'm flying to like see our daughter's graduation, meet him there. Like we've been together like 25 years and I took this big sign and I was like, oh my God. And I remember I was so nervous to see him because we hadn't seen each other at this point. I believe it was like 4 or 5 months of us talking on the phone and doing this. I'm so scared. And I'm calling him. I'm like, I'm so nervous. I'm like, I think I'm going to go when I get to New York. I think I'm going to go to the airport bar and have like a shot of tequila and then I'll meet you. Can I just have like a shot of tequila? Right. And he was like, sure. And I remember I'm walking through the airport and we literally run into each other. And he's like, hey, and I don't know why I respond. Well, no, I was scared. I literally looked at him, looked at my suitcase, looked at him, looked at my suitcase, and contemplating just run away. I thought, just run away, just run, just drop your suitcase and run, leave everything behind. I was so scared, like the good kind of scared and nervous, right? And we were off. I stood there. He hugged me. We went and got a shot of tequila, and we hadn't kissed yet. And I remember being so scared. And I asked him before I got there, this is sort of ties in with the poop scoop. I asked him before I got there, I was like, this is going to be a weird thing to ask you, but like, I'm super weird about this. And I'm going to be there for like days. And like, what if I have to poop? And Chris goes, then you poop. What do you mean? What if you have to poop? I'm like, I don't know. Will you leave the room? And he was like, yeah, if you need me to go on a walk, I'll go on a walk. Like, not a big deal. He's like, I'm going to poop the whole time you're here. The whole time I'm going to poop. And I was like, oh God, are you going to tell me? We should tell each other. And he was like, whatever will make you comfortable. Right. And so he hadn't kissed me yet. And I'd asked him, I was like, what's our first kiss going to be like? And he was like, I don't know. I'm going to make it special though. He's like, let me take the reins. And I was like, all right. And so we dropped off my shit at his apartment and we go to Times Square. And I know Times Square for people who live in New York is like super touristy, but fuck you. I was a tourist, And so he takes me to Times Square and we're walking through the crowd. And then there's like a lull in the crowd and he just stops and turns around and he kisses me. And I got to tell you, it's still one of the best first kisses I've ever had in my life. He kisses me. And then we were off. We hadn't had sex yet, and we didn't have sex that first night. We went and had a great time all night. And I appreciated that because it was really scary and it was new and it was like, like we shouldn't just fuck, and we, spent the whole night together and we like cuddled and then we woke up in the morning and we had sex and the week was magical. And the first time I had to poop, we were walking through the streets of New York and he was like, we got to get back to my apartment. And I'm like, why? He's like, I got to poop. I was like, oh my God, I got to poop too. And he had a neighbor named Omar and Irina, boyfriend, girlfriend, lived together. They hung out with us some during this trip. I think they're married now, which is wild. I'm friends with both of them, I believe, on Facebook. I don't know. I know for sure Omar, but I don't know if Irina and I ever became friends on Facebook. But we, so he's like, all right, well, I'll just poop at Omar's and you poop in the apartment. And I was like, okay, cool. So we walk up and I'm waiting to get into his apartment. And he knocks on the door and Omar answers the door and he's like, hey man, can I shit in your house? And Omar's like, why, dude? And as the door shuts, he goes, Kim's got a shit too. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, now I'd be like, whatever. Now I would just like, now it would be fine. Like, I don't want to announce it, but like, I'd be all right. Right. Maybe. I'm not sure. Probably there'd probably still be some weirdness. I don't know who the fuck I think I am, but I was like horrified. And of course, I'm a quick pooper because I usually wait till the last possible second. That's why I poop my pants a lot. Jesus. I'm a quick pooper. So I poop real quick and then I walk over to Omar's. I knock on the door and like Omar and I didn't know each other that well. And so like now in hindsight, the awkward silence was probably because we just didn't know each other that well, not because both of us knew I just pooped. But I thought it was because he knew that I knew that he knew that I just pooped. And I was just horrified. So maybe it was awkward because I was just sitting there like so embarrassed for pooping. Like, what? And then Chris, like, I was like, how the fuck are you just not nervous? He comes out, he's like, that was great. Thanks, man. And then we, go about our way. And, a month later, so he came to visit me in LA. We went to this wedding and we had, we just had a lovely time. And I was so in love with him. And after he left LA, like 5 days later, it was Rocktober. If you're a baseball fan, he was a Philly fan. The Rockies swept the Phillies in the playoffs, I believe. And I'm from Colorado. And Chris stopped talking to me for a few days. And it was weird because, like, he didn't live here. So I couldn't just like go to his apartment and be like, what the fuck? He just stopped talking to me. And like, I was a wreck. So sad. This breakup was one of the hardest breakups I ever went through. And he texted me after 3 days and he goes, look, it was really sad about the Phillies losing. I'm rolling my eyes now because, like, Jesus. He's like, I was really upset about it. And then, like, I just realized I needed some space from all this. And I just took a couple of days. And I was like, that's why? Like, I was rooting for your stupid team because I knew you were going to be weird about it. And then he ghosted. He just ghosted. And there was a guy that worked with me that lived with him in New York for a while. And I didn't tell anybody at work that it had ended because I was just so, and I didn't even know, it wasn't like it ended. He was gone. He was just gone. And, didn't respond to any Facebook, or no, MySpace was at the time. No MySpace. He didn't respond to, I'm trying to remember a lot of it, but I mean, he was just gone. It was like one day he was like the biggest part of my life and I was so in love and we were going to figure out where we were going to live and like be together. And he was just gone. And I didn't tell anybody at work. I almost lost my job because we had already established I wasn't super great at it to begin with. They just liked me. But my sales really suffered. I was late a lot. I was drunk. Oh my God, that scared me. All right, the crawl space ending. I'm going, I have a template that I'm using and oh my God, that scared me so much. It sounded like something was breaking. I have a template that I use that sometimes I should just put the outward music somewhere else because some weeks I go over the hour and it freaks me out and I get scared every single time. And it always interrupts this moment. But I was drinking all the time. Like, in fact, my roommates, Ali and Amy, who like all of us partied together pretty hard, had like an intervention with me because they would come home and I would just be hammered. It was like the only way I could get through it. I was also like 24 years old. And, I didn't have a lot of guidance in terms of like parents or 12-step programs or anything like that. I just would go, I could not face my home without a bottle of wine or two. And I would and they finally like talked to me. They're like, this is not good. Like you and my, and I didn't tell anybody at work. And the guy who had lived with Chris in New York for a little bit was like obsessed with us. And he would come to my desk almost every day after the breakup and be like, hey, he's like, oh my God. He's like, I just talked to Chris. He's so great. I love you guys together so much. Like, he says he's going to move here. He can't wait to move here. Like, and he was just like every day and he had no idea. And then finally one day, like, I'm going to say like a week and a half of listening to this guy tell me how much he thinks Chris loved me. I was just like, you gotta leave me alone. We broke up. He ghosted. He's gone. And ghosted wasn't a term yet. It was just, we broke up. You got to leave me alone. You got to stop bringing this up. It is literally destroying me. And he was like, what? I was like, yeah, Chris stopped talking to me. I don't know why. He's just gone. And I was devastated. Right. And then like, I'm going to say like 3 or 4 months later, I get a Facebook from our MySpace. I keep forgetting on MySpace. It was MySpace at the time. I get a MySpace from Chris and it's like a YouTube video about moving body buddies. And that's a term that you have a friend that if you ever murdered someone, you knew that you could call them and they'd be there to help you, move the body. And Chris and I always said that we were each other's moving body buddies, even though we were, 3,000 miles away. We were moving body buddies. And so he sends me this YouTube video about moving body buddies. Nothing else. And like now adult Kim understands that was him like trying to see if there was still a shot, right? And he was a young kid, instead of like, saying, hey, I fucked up. What's up? He's like, I'll just test the waters with this dumb video. And I didn't respond. I forgot to tell a fun part about, oh my God, what's going on? About, oh, I think I have a virus, guys. That's not good. We'll figure that out another time, I suppose. But I do believe, I think there's a virus. It just keeps popping up. I don't know. I'll look into it. I'm overwhelmed by everything right now. Overwhelmed. Like it's 107 and I just gave myself permission to just get the crawl space out on Wednesday. It doesn't matter. But one time we were in New York. So I'll go back to the breakup and there's an explanation and there's an ending to it all. I don't know if you're waiting on the edge of your seat. I love this story. This story made me believe and still makes me believe in chances and love, and maybe why I still give my current friend came back, and maybe this is why I still hear people out or forgive them. Like this, I love this story. And this story was one of the biggest heartbreaks of my life, but also one of the most magical, beautiful relationships I have ever had. And maybe, like it will always hold a special place for myself. And if I listened to everyone who told me that it was crazy for me to fall in love with a man who lived in New York, I would never have had these experiences. So one time we were in New York, or when I was in New York, we were at this bar called Off the Wagon. I don't remember where it was, but we were there before we went in to get a drink, and then we left and we went to go get dinner. And everywhere we went, we were so in love. And everywhere we went, everybody was like, how did you two meet? And we thought it was funny to tell people we met on the internet. Now, the year was like 2004. So meeting on the internet was like super taboo and super embarrassing. That was like when everybody lied about meeting on the internet. And so we would proudly tell people we met on the internet because we thought it was funny. And so we go back to Off the Wagon after dinner and we sit down, and the bartender comes over with 2 shots and he's like, hey guys, these shots are from that guy over there. And we were like, oh, thanks, man. And we cheers him and we take the shot. And then Chris sends him over a drink because Chris was a little gentleman, sends him over a drink. And then the guy comes over and he goes, hey, I wanted to buy you guys a drink. I saw you guys in here earlier. And I have been bartending in New York and LA for 20 years, and I have seen a lot, but I have never seen 2 people more in love than the 2 of you in all the years I've been bartending. And I just wanted to buy you guys a drink just to cheers to your love. And we in unison said, we met on the internet, and we laughed and we laughed and we laughed. And so back to the breakup. And then, so he sends that stupid message on MySpace, and then cut to a couple months later. God, this night was rough. Ali was getting Ali just did his defense, my roommate, and got his PhD. So we were out celebrating at this dive bar called Dell's in Santa Monica. Dive bar. And Chris's ringtone was Hey There Delilah, because that was our song. Hey There Delilah, what's it like? And you can, if you know the song, it's very clear why it wasn't super creative. Also, Rihanna's Umbrella was also our song. So every time I hear Ella, that he used to text me Ella when he was thinking about me. And so my ringtone I hadn't talked to Chris Thornton in 6 months. I'm going to say at this point, no explanation as to why he left, nothing. Right. And I'm sitting at the bar and we're drunk and we're partying, we're celebrating Ali. And then my phone is like, Hey There Delilah, what's it like in New York City? And singing the song. And I look at Ali and I show him and he goes, don't answer that. And I was like, Ali and I actually talked about this a couple months ago. I was like, I have to know. And that's what it was. It was like, it's been 6 months. This thing almost destroyed me. I have to know what happened. And so I answer, and it's raining, and I'm outside, and I answer, and this idiot was like, oh, I was like, oh, I'm crying, and then I'm yelling, and then I'm like, I'm totally fine. It's fine. How are you? I hope you're doing well. I hope we can be friends. I don't know why you left me. This insanity, right? I had no recovery, no therapy, no guidance whatsoever. I was just free ball in emotions and just reacting. And he's like, hold on. And I can't remember his roommate at the time, but he's like, I think I got to go take this in the bedroom. I was like, you thought you were just going to casually call me 6 months after stop talking to me 3 days after you left here? You thought I was just going to be like, hey man, what's up? And he goes, I just kind of thought that he thought enough time had passed that I was cool now. So he goes, why don't I call you tomorrow night? You sound drunk. I honestly didn't think you'd be drunk because it's Tuesday. I was like, we're celebrating Ali. Don't judge me. And he was like, I honestly thought you would just be home. So how about I call you tomorrow and we'll talk all of it through? And you guessed it, tomorrow came and went, and I never heard from him. Nothing. I called him, nothing. Um, and then a year later, we were at maybe like, 8 months later, a long time later, we're at another one of the ING parties where we originally met. He wasn't there. I was hanging out with the guy who lived with him in New York. And we were talking about it, Chris. Like at this point, I'm fine, right? Like at this point, I'm not crying daily. Like it'd been over a year. But I still had feelings, and there was still, heartbreak there. And this guy, his name was David. We were talking about him, and as we're talking about him, my ringtone, "Hey there, Delilah. What's it like in New York City?" And I look at David and I go, "Chris is calling me right now." He goes, "You got to answer it." And I was like, I've already done this. I don't think I need to. And he goes, "Can I answer it?" I was like, "Be my guest." And I handed him my phone, and David ran off. And they talked on the phone for a while. And I'm lying too if I said I wasn't like, where the fuck is he? What is he calling for? What are they talking about? I was like 25 years old at this point, and I was just like, I need to talk to him, and David comes back and he goes, he wants to talk to you. And I was like, okay. I'm like, hey. And he goes, hey. Like, I'm at this ING party. You knew that I was going to be here. Like, there's like a newsletter, and now we all get an email. I can't believe I worked at a bank like this. Like, this is a corporate. ING Direct is like corporate. And they liked me. I was just not very good at the job. They liked me. So I was like, I'm at this party. And he was like, do you want to call me when the party's over? And I was like, are you going to answer, dude? Because the last time you said you were going to give me some kind of explanation, you didn't answer for, 8 months. And he goes, I promise I'll answer. And I'm like, all right. So I party. I go home, I call him, and he answers. And the explanation was, I left LA. I got back to New York, and I thought, I'm in love with this girl, and I don't see a future. And I panicked, and I just ghosted. He didn't say ghosted. I can't remember what the term was in 2005 or 2006, but he's like, I just panicked. And I was like, you didn't see a future? He goes, Kim, I hate LA. I hate it. And I know you. You will never move somewhere for a man. So I didn't know what else to do. So we talked a little bit more after that. And then, a couple years went by, and one night I was like 27-ish. And this was, I was 27-ish. I don't know. I was working at Big Wang's, and I didn't even have his phone number saved anymore. I think it was just like a delete his phone number, move on situation. Because there was no, I was devastated. Like, this guy, it was like a first love. He was a lot of firsts. And so one night I get a missed call, and I'm on my break, and it's from a number, Delaware number where he's from. And the voicemail is him, and he's like, call me back. And at the time, I was too old to runway model, but I looked really young. And a lot of agents told me I should get a fake ID and move to New York and runway model. By fake ID, they mean a fake ID that said I was like 20 or 19. I looked like I was like, I was at the time I was runway modeling in LA with a bunch of 17, 16-year-olds, but I was old, but I would just, dumb myself down or whatever. I wasn't very good at that part, but they were like, a lot of agencies were telling me. So I was really considering moving to New York, and I was looking, I was looking into it, saving, like, it was like it was like the reason, or that was the plan. And so Chris was, he goes, I was like, what are you up to? How's life? He was just like, I just wanted to call. I was just thinking about you. I'm like, how's life? He goes, well, I'm about to quit ING, and I'm going to move to Australia, and I'm going to, bartend and fly around and just travel for the rest of, for a while, and just kind of figure things out. And I was like, that is so funny. I'm probably going to move to New York. Like I'm looking into moving to New York. It's just funny that I'm going to be there, and then you're going to be gone. It's just funny how that works. And he goes, you're going to move to New York? And I said, yeah. And he goes, I'll scrap Australia. Get here. Let's give this thing a real shot. Like, I've never gotten over you, whatever. And then we kept in touch, we talked every day again. And it was just like, it became, and I don't regret not going to New York. I have a lovely life here. I love it here. I'm happy. If I went to New York and tried to model. I might have failed, who knows, but I don't think I would have found comedy. I wouldn't have Henry. That's a big one. I wouldn't have Katie, Wixom. I wouldn't have all of this. So I'm not like, there's no regret there, but the New York plan turned from moving there for me to moving there for him. And it's funny, I don't remember how it all fizzled out, but it just slowly fizzled out. And yeah, we're still friends on all this stuff. And he told me, we talked a couple of years ago, and he was like, yeah, he's like, you're really funny. I look up your comedy sometimes. He's like, every now and then I just Google you to see how you are. And it's funny. It's funny how that stuff, I don't even know if this is that's such an anticlimactic ending, except for just like, I don't know. It makes me believe in love and second chances and taking risks and like doing things just like the way you want to do them, even though everyone thinks you're crazy. Like, even though Chris never worked out, like, even though Chris isn't the guy or the person that I end up with. Oh my God, my mouth is so dry. That makes me really nervous for the video. Is it just like the gross white stuff? It's not probably. My body is so crazy right now. COVID has ruined my body. But like, even if it didn't work out, but like, it was one of the most magical relationships I've ever had. And so back to the love letters, I have a Chris Thornton box. I have one of the books we read to each other. I have every single, because after we broke up, I was devastated and I went to my work email. I have no idea why this place didn't fire me, because I printed out like 400 emails or something, and I have them in a box. I have the first, well, if it isn't the coolest girl in the world. And like, do you throw that away? And maybe I will. Maybe my next clean out, I'll be, happily married, and it'll feel weird to have it. Or maybe I'll have a person that's secure and understands that that's just nostalgia. It's just a big piece of me. I used to send him like 16 emails a day. And then finally he goes, hey, do you think maybe instead of like doing that to my inbox, because I try to be the top seller and we know you're not a top seller, do you think maybe you could just open one email and then throughout the day, just write every little thing you need to tell me and then send it at the end of the day? And we called that 3,000, because he used to call me Toots, 3,000 miles from Toots, rantings of a crazy blonde, because I used to be blonde. And that was the subject title. And I like, do you keep your, and those aren't love letters, but they kind of are, I have his responses, and it's just interesting. It doesn't take up that much space. I don't think about it ever, except for, every 10 years when I find it and I'm cleaning out my place. Probably ought to clean out my place more than every 10 years, I guess. Maybe every 5 years. I think I did this the last time 5 years ago. But do you keep your old love letters? Do you keep your old love letters? And would you be bothered if you found out your significant other had old love letters or a boyfriend box? Like, I wouldn't, like, if Chris Thornton called me now and was like, we should give this a whirl, I'd be like, really? It's been 12 years. Maybe we ought to have a cup of coffee. We're very different people now. Like, there's not like, I don't hold a candle for him, fire a flame for him. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. I just having that dream about the almost guy last night just got me thinking about, and then also, the Poopscoop and how I got to poop in front of Chris Thornton. I didn't poop in front of him. All right. I ended this weird. Yeah, I think that's the show. I went over the hour. I did not expect to tell the whole Chris Thornton story, but I'm glad I did. I don't know. I'll end with one lucky broad. I'm one lucky broad. I'm one lucky broad to have stories like that, to have to have a love story like that. And though maybe it's not like, a conventional love story, that it's not I'm trying to find a review. It's not a conventional love story, but I really fucked up that. Sorry. It's not a conventional love story, obviously. Like, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of complications, long distance, but it was sweet. We had like date night almost every week where we'd watch a movie together, we'd read books together. Like, it was sweet. And I'm one lucky broad that like I'm trying to like find the words for it, because I just know so many people who look back on like their like past loves, and they're so bitter. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're so bitter. Like, or they're just like, fuck that guy. Ugh, he broke my heart. And I'm so grateful that I don't have that. I'm one lucky broad that I have these lovely memories of, yeah, really bad heartbreak, but like I learned so much and I got to know a really, really lovely person. And wherever you are, Chris, if you happen to look me up and you're listening to this episode, just know that I hope you found love. I hope you found happiness. I hope all your dreams came true and that you're just living your best life. And thank you for loving me. Thank you for loving me. Yeah, that's our show. I'm going to read a review. Remember how I was trying to read a review every week and asking you guys to write a review? I remembered to do it this week. Well, I didn't. I just remembered just now. So now I'm going to read it now. Okay. So if you get a chance, I would love it, love it, love it if you subscribe to my podcast and then you left a rating and a review. The reviews do so much to getting it out there. And I have a couple of goals of just getting my podcast more visually seen. You know what I'm trying to say. I have a goal of getting more people to listen to me. There's an easier way to say that, but I do not know what the easier way to say that is. But so if you get a chance, I would love it, love it, love it if you could leave a review. I say this every week. It just means the world to me. So this review is from Sarah Jane 85. And did I say this last week? Yes, I did. Did I? Yes, I did. Okay. I will be more organized, I promise. The next one is from CO Dragon JR. You know who you are. I love this guy. I went to college with him. He's one of my favorite people. He wrote, Kim is hilarious. Oh, he told you this. I went to college with Kim and have watched her evolve from an awkward bean pile. I don't know what that means. Of a girl who loved to make out on the dance floor to a hilarious, raw, and real comedian who tells it like it is and laughs at anything poop related like a child. And it makes you laugh with her. Oh my God, I love that. You're so right, Ray. Our CO Dragon Jr. I don't know if I'm allowed to tell. I made out with everybody in college. I was like a makeout bandit. I think I made out with a homeless guy one time. That's a weird way to end. I'll tell you about that another day. By the way, homeless people in Greeley, Colorado are very different than city homeless people. All right. So like before you go judging, it's fine if you judge me, but if you get a second, please leave me a rating or review. Thanks, Ray, for leaving that. And thank you guys for listening. If you get a second, follow me on all the socials, KYM, KRAL. Send me your poop scoops. I'm running out of pooping my pants stories, which disappoints me a little bit too much. Send them to me at kimkralspace@gmail.com, KYMKRALSPACE@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for bearing with my grumpiness. I appreciate all the love and support while I go through this wild time. You guys are amazing. Please be safe. Wear a mask. Love you. Bye.